Yeah, mentioned on my 60 seconds that we'd talk a bit more about clarity. And what I find amazing sometimes is where there are so many business owners that don't have clarity within the business. So what is clarity? Clarity is access to the right sort of information. Some of this information is really easy to get hold of, so the numerical stuff, but it might not be in a format which is great for you or for the user. So, for example, if you've remember your set of accounts that you sign off every year, they're not particularly user friendly. There's a few different formats they can come in that are slightly different, and they don't offer that much information. Not only that, it happens quite a lot that people produce a set of accounts and they don't really read them because of that. So what is the format? So most of our clients, or certainly my clients that I work for, in terms of a finance director, will produce a certain amount of information, but in a slightly different format. So obviously we produce annual accounts, but we also produce management accounts and something called a business one-page plan, which I am going to share with you an example. Obviously, the numbers don't actually make any sense whatsoever, because that would be wrong to include those for a client. But this is an example of the type of format, so you can see how easy this is to look at. So, in terms of, I'll sort of walk you through this, and then you can sort of try and take some of this in. So this would be produced. These are monthly, quarterly, or bi-monthly, depending on what the client's requirements are. I recommend monthly. For this example, it was taken for, say, a quarter. And you can see there's some key financials. And obviously, these appear in the accounts, but not in this format, and not all on one page either. Obviously, the turnover and net profit appear on a profit and loss account, and the bank balance would appear on the balance sheet. However, there are lots of other figures that kind of distort this, because you're looking at lots of other figures on a profit and loss account and the balance sheet. But for this client, these were the key sort of measures that we wanted to look at in terms of their key financials. And on there, you can see there's a target and an actual, and we can see very clearly how they're doing. Red's not particularly good, and green is good. Okay, so we can see what's good and what's bad in terms of this sort of client. In addition to that, we then break it down a bit more. So the cost and cash predictors, and again, we customize this depending on the client. For some clients, debtor days, which is the average days that people take to pay their bills to the client, was important to them. For some businesses, it's not. Maybe some businesses don't have staff members, so they don't need that. But for this business, this is important. Okay, and we not only do we put the measures in place, but we assist with setting up systems. Now, I don't mean computer systems, I mean processes, etc. So with this client, again, we're measuring against targets and actuals. Then we come to the success predictors, and again, you'll recognize some of these from me talking about them in the past. And the thing with these measures is these are not the type of measures which you click a button on Sage or on Xero or whatever accounting system you're using, QuickBooks, whatever, and these pop out. We do have to put procedures in place to measure these. And nowhere on Xero or Sage will you find the button that says employee satisfaction. Okay, you're actually going to have to do some work on this one if this was relevant to you. Now, it could be our client delight can be measured in lots of different ways, but we would need to come up with an agreed measure there. Okay, but most importantly, the real goals for this business were to have a 35% net profit being 35% of the gross profit by a certain date, and the managing director wanted to work 4 days a week, pretty basically. So it's working towards that for this type of client, but you know, maybe not there yet. So that gives you an idea of what we measure and how we present this, so we can talk through this with a client. Now, why should you do it? Well, don't take my word for it. I'll tell you about someone that you can take his word for it. So John Harvey-Jones was kind of the first business troubleshooter. He had a show on television called The Troubleshooter, I believe, and he was kind of the first person to rise from, say, T-boy to CEO of a large corporation. I believe it was ICI. It's one of those type of companies. So an absolutely massive company. And what he said was, business owners need to sit down on a regular basis with a numerate outsider to challenge them on the key aspects of their business. So if we analyze that statement, it kind of sums up this service. So we need to sit down on a regular basis, regular being monthly or quarterly, with a numerate. Well, you'd like to think that an accountant was numerate. Outsider, why outsider? Because anyone in the business knows all the cheats. Okay, if you sit down with someone in the business and you say to them, "Oh yeah, but you know, my cat was ill that day, so we couldn't do that," they'll take those excuses and let you run with them. However, an outsider doesn't do that and challenge you on the key aspects of the business. You know, as a business owner, it's terribly difficult to run a business because no one challenges you. Sometimes your clients do or customers do, but really, if you're setting targets, nobody else knows them, you don't share them, and that's one of the reasons why we do this type of service. And the real reason is the results. So here's some actual results, and I'll explain how these are measured, okay? So these are measured as a percentage of the target. So when we see this here, so if we've got a target of 30,000 and we get to 15,000, that would obviously be 50%. So anything over 100, we're exceeding targets. So as you can see, there's some massive changes and swings here in terms of the performance of these businesses. Now, none of these are members of Nexus, so you won't recognize any. These are just clients of mine, okay? But it gives you an idea of the types of clients that this works with, or that I've worked with, and some of the results and the average results here that people can achieve. So there is a reason behind it. It's better with some businesses than others. I'm going to stop sharing that now. He says, stop sharing. So yeah, works better with some businesses than others. Some labor-intensive businesses it's really effective with, because we're able to help them with quite a lot of systems and processes. So I'm not sure on time. James's timer disappeared from my screen.
Yes, it's probably about right. We usually change at 8 o'clock, so like a minute for a question, please.
Super job. So if anyone's got a quick question, very happy to answer them if I can, as long as it's an easy one. No, I'm joking, but anything you like.